All right, first and foremost, give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the son of the Hamashiach, who some call Yahweh Shai, Yeshua, Yehoshua. We mostly know as Jesus Christ. We're going to talk about bitterness. Bitterness. We're going to do a little lesson on bitterness. It's going to be a light lesson. We're going to read a couple of verses. We're going to watch this video here. It's only about 5-7 minutes. It's a clip that the brother Brainwaves YouTube channel, y'all go check him out, that he had Elder Rufus on, but I think he had the brother Michael, he had Michael Israel on first from Straightway, and then Elder Rufus ended up getting on, or Pastor Rufus rather ended up getting on, and they end up having a dialogue. We're gonna see the dialogue here, and we gonna speak on some things and show how some of this bitterness can get in our way and defile us. And again, nobody will admit their bitterness, that they're bitter. I think it's bitterness even inside of the Ringo and Newbury situation. But I'm sure brothers, if those brothers are watching this, they're saying, brother, I'm not bitter. And we're going to look into what that word bitter means. We're going to define that. You can go ahead and define it. You can go ahead and look it up yourself. But we will look at the definition of bitterness. But let's look at this video first. All right, let me peel this thing back a little bit.
The technicalities and listen to the videos. And then you could go there and pass it out channel and listen to the videos from the other side. And I'm listening to all the details and the technicalities that Pastor Rufus is bringing out. Wow. And it still don't change what it is.
This is amazing. Are y'all listening to the programming going on here? Are y'all listening to this? Do y'all see this high level of witchcraft going on? This man is literally telling you, telling y'all that because I didn't want to put myself into modern day slavery by going down there under a pastor that's already upset with me, mad at me because I told him I don't trust him, and be a slave laborer on his camp, that was me leaving the ministry. No, it wasn't. That wasn't.
You have to prove that. That's just you saying.
Hold on.
That's just you saying.
And I have to agree with Michael Israel. Now, understand, I'm not fond of what Straightway is doing. I'm against polygamy. I'm against jokers giving all their money up to one man and so forth. I'm against a lot of the system that I see. I know there's things going on that I don't see. I don't feel nobody should be giving up their money and living in no tent. I got major problems with Straightway. But this the thing. I'm not invested in Straightway. And I know people that do invest in and people who do sign up for that, they know what's going on. It's like somebody being in an abusive relationship. Especially if you have this in the body. You may have a brother that speaks to his wife in a certain tone. You like, man, hey, man, you may say to yourself, hey, man, maybe you want to ease up, but I can't tell that man how to run his house. Can't tell him how to run his house. And then if I feel like, oh, well, he's speaking to this sister a certain way here, imagine how he's speaking to him when nobody's around. Imagine what's going on, I'm saying, and those thoughts come. But again, you can't get involved in that until somebody cries out. Until those people from Straightway cry out, then, I can start, trying to say, well, this is this and da-da-da-da-da, and we need to get these folks up out of there, blah-da-blah-da-blah. But, man, if them folks in there, they in that oppressive system. I think Straightway itself is an oppressive system. I think Dow controls everybody. I think Pastor Dow is the control of it. I think that's clear. I think that's clearly displayed for anybody on the outside. For me on the outside, never been there, never met the man. I have an understanding that he controls everything. That's how I feel it. Like what he says, go. He is the leader, and if leadership says something, then that's what it is. Then we got to do that. You know, and I get, you know, Elder Rufus, I get what you're saying too. That hey, you know what, this ain't fair. This ain't just. You know, he telling me to follow something that's sinful. That's profane. That's defiled. That's ungodly. That's unbiblical. I get it, but you know, this is, you're under his system. If you got Straightway on your name, you're under the system of Pastor Dow. You're under that system. If you don't want to be governed by that system, then you have to be out of that system. You can't be inside of that. It's the same thing with Judaism. You know, I don't think we should, you know, if feel like I'm a blood Israelite by blood, I don't have to go out here and try to get converted and try to appease them. But if I want to operate in their system, and I want to get, you know, they got the law where you can go back to Jerusalem and get you some land or whatever, and you can move back and get citizenship. If I want to go that route through their system, through their government, then I'm going to need to convert. I'm going to need to find one of those rabbis. I'm going to need to find a notable rabbi that's in that system that can help me with my conversion process. If I want to reap those benefits and want to know how, you know, to have that network, those inner workings, those business deals, those inner talkings, and hey, he a Jew, you could go over here and stay with him, and you could do. If I want to know what they're doing and they're interlocked with, then I would need to go through their system and go through their conversion process. But if I feel I'm a bloodline and I'm just bloodline, I don't have to. You don't have to do that if I'm gonna live outside of their system. But under that system, yeah, you're gonna have to do that. You got to play by their rules. Let's continue.
Since you trying to sway public opinion,
even I ain't trying to sway. It never even got to that because we never got to that point.
But it's still proof you left.
Hold on. No, it ain't the proof that I left. I was told to leave. I had 30 days to get off the land. That's what it was. I was told that the ministry was no more. He shut the ministry down. It was his ministry because Straightway is his. He shut that part of it.
And that's the thing. Straightway is his. It's his. Everybody going there and you want to be a part of that, you know that it's his. You gotta know that. It's his. Oh, we got a Straightway Alaska. It's his. He come there, he want to send some folks over there, send some folks up. And it's the same thing with IUIC. We'll get to it.
Now,
you walk
Mike,
out
hey, Mike, you know what? Mike, I'm not trying to sway you. Like you said, I can't persuade you. You're brainwashed enough to think that dumb stuff. You go ahead, but you the same brother on this show that said you don't see any type of person trying to rule over anybody, no dictator. This man is literally telling me you built this up for 14 years. Now because you're angry at me and you lashed out at me in the meeting, I'm going to send you somewhere else. But he don't dictate and control.
I'm going to send you somewhere else. So this the thing that Pastor Dow offered to send. They weren't going to kick him out, or they saying they didn't kick him out. They were going to send him to Pastor Meir or Elder Meir down there in Indiana. And he knew Indiana. He knew Pastor Meir or Elder Meir. What does it say? Elder Meir, Pastor Meir. They had a little beef. He didn't want to be over there, and he thought that, you know, this was just him trying to make him, put him to some labor and have him laboring. And he didn't want to put himself under that. He didn't want to put his family under that. And so he felt he had no other choice but to leave. But you did leave. There was a choice. You either could do that or you leave. And this isn't, again, it's not whether it's right or wrong. All right. I'm not dealing with that. I'm just dealing with You can go over there. That's part of his system. This is what he this is how people get moved around and shuffled around all the time. In other Israelite camps and Israelite organizations, people get shoved around and families get shifted and moved. To start schools. We got a couple of brothers out here in Tennessee and Memphis. Okay, well I need Captain so and so to move to Memphis. That's how that works. And that captain has to follow orders. Now, you don't have to do that if you just stay inside of you just want to go to IUIC, you just want to go to ISUPK and just visit and just get the word on the Shabbat. You can do that. But once you sign up and you say you want to be a general and a soldier and a trooper of then you're putting yourself under leadership, and you got to do what these folk tell you to do. And once you become, you got anointed to be a pastor or be a bishop. They probably don't want to use those words because of them verses. I just thought about that. They don't want to use ain't no deacons and bishops because they don't want to deal with that one wife. They don't even want to get caught up with that. But I get it, But you were pretty much a bishop. He anointed you, made you a pastor, laid hands on you, and you could only be that with his permission. You could only be that with his permission. So if he's the one that giving you the permission to be a pastor, and I know you say, hey man, I was a pastor before, I get it, but you weren't that pastor in Straightway before. You're under Straightway, you signed up. This is what you signed up for. You know what I'm saying? And so I can't, and people can't help. You got to let them folks in Straightway do what they doing. Even though we don't like what they're doing there, man, people signing up for that stuff, man. Like, how much evidence do you need if to show you this stuff is crazy? But people are signing up to give their whole check away. That's what they signing up. I can't. Well, like, what we gonna do? That's what they doing. So, I can't. You can't help somebody who don't need no help. They know what they doing. They know what they signing up for. That just is what it is, whether I like it or I don't like it. And some people say, I'm in there. Well, your opinion don't mean nothing. They right. It don't. It's my opinion. I still can speak it, but it don't really mean nothing.
Bro, you are the one that just said that don't happen, but you're watching it happen, and you're justifying it happen. Why can't I just stay on my land? Why I got to leave my land, Mike? The land, guess what? Dow didn't pay for that. He didn't pay for
you're implying that there doesn't need to be leadership or nobody is allowed to tell anybody what to do.
See the deflection.
I'm just getting clarity. I want you to clarify.
I already gave you clarity on it. We're brethren. That's what Jesus said to the disciples and the people that were listening. We are brothers. You don't have the right to dictate it on somebody. You don't. And that's the problem. You still got leadership, but leadership is there for guidance. It's there for the perfecting of the saints. Jesus is clear and says, do not rule over the people. When you get in these leadership positions, he's clearly telling you, so I'm going to trust Jesus over man.
So what is
and see, that's the indoctrination of your mind.
I'm asking
again,
you a question.
You can separate yourself from them if you feel that to.
When somebody doesn't obey the counsel.
Who is the council? Again, Mike, this is what your problem is. The council never agreed. See, I was the one that said in all the councils, not you. Here's our number one rule in council, y'all. This is the number one rule in Straightway's council. If every single person in this council don't agree, we do not levy a judgment. That's the number one rule.
Judgment never got levied.
Oh, yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. Judgment did get levied. See, y'all see it. I ain't got to say nothing else. Y'all see the program and y'all see it. But again, what he's slipping back and forth from, he's saying, I'm being technical. I'm quoting scripture. I'm quoting the words of Jesus. I'm not being technical. He's being technical because he's following a military mindset. That's what the military can tell you to do. That's what the military, if you don't follow what this man says, nobody's in charge. No, they don't mean that. This man just can't go over his boundaries of what he has. He can't dictate a man's life.
And you would have to I get what you're saying too, elders, but you'll have to show where how does that get determined on what one could dictate. And I believe Pastor Dow can dictate your life in Straightway because people hand over their whole life to him. When you hand over your whole paycheck, you hand over your family, and you say, hey man, I want you to take care of me. And you know, I know that ain't what men are saying. And you know, jokers just want to get out of the system. I get it. But on the outside looking in, this is what you're saying. Take care of me. I don't know what I'm doing out here. I'm scared. I want to come in here for refuge. Take care of me. It's also like they have situations for the elderly. They have like the old folks homes where you can sign your house away. You can sign your Social Security check to them. You can sign your house away to them, and they take care of you for the rest of your life. Right? Until you get the medical support, you get 3 meals a day. You get a bed, you get the shower, you get nurses, etc. But you got to listen to them folks. You got to follow the rules within that nursing home. You know what I'm saying? Or you can get put out. And that's what, I get what you're saying about we're not supposed to, but man, when you putting yourselves in certain situations, the way the Straightway is being ran, there is a dictatorship. There is a dictatorship. You got to listen to leadership. Leadership tell you to do something. Don't care how you feel about it. You got to do it.
Y'all never
somebody is in charge.
Yeah, I just told you we have leadership. You're not listening, Michael.
Okay.
Leadership doesn't mean you're over someone, that you are in charge of their life. Leadership means exactly what Dow says, but he doesn't do. You just lead by example. If they choose to follow it, guess what? That's great. But if they don't, that ain't on you to correct them. That
is. Like, again, you're putting yourself in a position as a child, pretty much. When you hand that stuff over to them, and that shepherd there is paying the bills and trying to maintain shalom and the peace on that land, and trying to provide shelter and provide certain things, that's exactly what that is. David is a dictator. You gotta listen to what David tell you to do. If David say do this, if the king of Israel, and Pastor Dow, you was jokingly saying that, but he is the king of Straightway. He's the king. Why wouldn't he be the king? He's the king there. And if he say this people got to go here, a bad person got to go there, that's just what it is. He the CEO. If it's a business, he's the owner of Straightway. Everybody else is just, they like the other jokers on the other little land plots. They like CEOs. They like managers.
Now, if they commit a sin against Yah, that's when leadership comes in. And again, I gave you the example of Moses. This man clearly was presumptuous and committed a sin against Yah. Did he not break the commandments? He did. But Moses didn't take his authoritative, I am the man, I'm the giver of the law, and I'm going to judge this man. He didn't do that. He let Yah do it.
And you can't compare individuals today to Moses. Moses talked directly to God. Pastor Dow does not talk directly to Yah. And if he does, I'm signing up and giving them everything. You tell me, Pastor, you can show me and prove to me that Pastor Dow is talking directly to Yah like Moses was, face to face. I'm signing up for Straightway. I don't care what he's doing over there. I'm signing up. So that's not a good comparison. We yield from certain examples. We glean from certain examples in the text and make certain decisions. And we have these people. We went under these people because we feel confident in their decision making, in their judgments, or we wouldn't be up under them.
Look, we could talk. We could talk in circles, but you walked out of the council.
Bro. No problem, bro. No, I didn't walk out of the council. What are you talking about? When did I walk out of the council?
By your own admission, you said, in your opinion, the council was rigged or not righteous or whatever, and you decided not to submit to it. You decided to not submit.
That's not true. That's not. You won't address the issue.
By your own admission, brother. You're on here admitting all this stuff.
I never walked out of any meeting.
And brother's question is so on point where it's saying, you know,
this is sad programming y'all in.
Death away from the saints. I mean,
Mike, you are brother. I can't believe you don't see this. I hope
you made a decision.
This is really bad, bro.
You did make a decision. Elder Rufus, Pastor Rufus, you made a decision. And it's like Kanye West when he said slavery was a decision. There's a decision there. You didn't have to do that. Now, the other decision was a bad choice. You either die or you go into slavery, but you did have a choice. Even people that are imprisoned, they're sitting in that prison by choice. They can try to break out. You know, they can try to get up out of there. But, you know, the odds of them getting out of there is terrible. You had terrible odds of, you know, you could have went to Indiana. It was going to be bad for you. I agree that it probably was going to be bad for you down there in Indiana. But those were your choices. You know, it wasn't, they didn't put you out. I'm going to use this last example here. Maybe the other two weren't as good. It's like you having a job, right? You got a job, you done got hired on. Matter of fact, I'm gonna use my dad. He was when I was growing up, he was a manager at KFC. And, you know, after a few years, he ended up not working there no more. I like, what happened? Why are you not working there no more? And he said that they wanted to move him. You know, he had built this store up and got the sales to a certain point where he was getting these bonuses and so forth. And they wanted him to go do that at another store. And he felt like that wasn't fair. He felt like it wasn't fair for him to do that. And he didn't want to do that. And so he quit. He thought it wasn't right and he left. Now he could have went and did that, and yeah, it wouldn't have been a good situation for him trying to build that store up. But maybe if he would have went and built that store up, the next time they came to talk to him, they would have promoted him and made him division manager over 5 stores. But because he walked away from that situation, and that's what he did. Now, some could say he could feel like, oh man, they fired me. That ain't what it was. Because if you go down to that unemployment office, you're not going to be able to say you got fired. And I feel that's the same way in your situation, Pastor Rufus. I understand that you were treated unjustly and you was probably going to be even treated worse in that situation. But your situation, you can't go down to the employment office and say that you got fired. You didn't get fired. They put you in a situation to make you quit, but you can't say you got fired. But they did put you in a situation that will make you quit. And jobs do this all the time. We gonna make that joker quit. We gonna put them with the sorriest people. We gonna do it's all kinds of ways people get mistreated at these jobs, and you have a choice. You got a choice. You either gonna deal with it or you gonna leave. And Elder Rufus, Pastor Rufus, you left. You left. I think it was the right decision. But it is a decision where you left. You didn't get, they can't say you didn't get put out.
I actually submitted even to the wicked counsel of it. But what his problem was that there was a righteous man in that council giving me the information that they were hiding from me. I should have had privy to that information too. I'm part of the hearing. I'm a part of it. So y'all are talking and discussing things that I have no knowledge of. You telling me that's fair, Mike? See, you'll back that because you're gonna do what the man tell you to do because he's over you. That's what you're saying. You justifying that.
Straight up,
you
I already answered.
that.
And look, I told everybody, go watch the video evidence.
Mike, they have.
Hold on.
They have. They watched
because by your word, this is what you said, Pastor Rufus. You said that I was not in that council, but there's video testimonies of all the people who were in the council.
Not all of them. Not all of them. Not all of them. Because here's the thing.
You're talking about Elder Crago. That video's online.
And me.
And everything. But listen, everything you've said and in everything I've listened to from them,
Mike, it's
in an unbiased way, I gotta lean with what they're saying. I gotta lean with them. I gotta go with them.
And guess what, Mike?
Go watch the tapes.
No problem, bro. You will live with that. And many people have watched those tapes and they can tell in their spirit, man, something's off here. Something's wrong here. That's why this ain't been resolved. Here's the number one problem. Everybody that is spiritual, that not religious, spiritual, that understands how Yah handles matters. There's from the old to the new, to Apocrypha. It's a way to handle it. They know it didn't get handled that way. They know what happened was a man got in his feelings and emotions, and he dictated how it's going to be. He became the judge, he became the jury, and he became the executioner. There's no book for it. That's why judgment's on Straightway and Dial now. That's why Mother Carol gave the interpretation she did.
So where are your two or more witnesses?
Me and what do you mean two or more witnesses? Two or more witnesses to what? Okay, hold on, Mike. I'm gonna do this for you because you got two or more witnesses. I want you, Mike, specifically, since you care.
My bad, y'all. I was looking for a few verses here. Matthew chapter 5, verse 11. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my name's sake. And the thing for that too, watch this, verse 12. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. That was, Michael, that brother Michael Israel was saying to you earlier, Pastor Rufus, in that video, and we about to get into this bitterness. How would Christ would have handled it, and it was trying to show you some of those examples in the text where, when you are persecuted or when those that rule over you, man, I don't want to mutilate that text. Let me find this verse here. Not just the good slave master, but also the perverse or something like that. Let me find it. First Peter chapter 2 and 18, and then we'll get into this class. It says, servants, be subject to your masters with all fear, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the forward. I'm reading in NLT. It says, you who are slaves must accept the authority of your masters with all respect. Do what they tell you, not only if they're kind and reasonable, but even if they are cruel. For God is pleased with you when you do what you know is right and patiently endure unfair treatment. All right. First Peter chapter 2, verse 18. God is pleased with you when you can endure unfair treatment. Verse 19, for God is pleased with you when you do what you know is right, and patiently endure unfair treatment. And you had an opportunity to do this. You had a opportunity to endure unfair treatment, but you chose not to. You chose not to endure the unfair treatment. And I'm not saying that you're any less of a man and you should have did that. I'm not saying that. I probably would have did the same thing that you did, to be honest. I'm not saying that, but we're just looking at the text. And you did subject yourself to, and now all those that are in Straightway have made Pastor Dow their master. You have subjected yourself to the rulings and the ordinances of Straightway, and you followed Pastor Dow as he follows Christ. That's, I done heard him say that a couple of times, something like that. And anyway, and just like we, those under Paul, they made themselves, they followed. We follow Paul as Christ followed, as he followed Christ. So there is leadership, and there is that leadership makes certain decisions. How much leadership is involved in your life depends on the organization, and how much of your life you submit unto them. If your life ain't submitted, they can't tell you. See, if your life is not submitted to Pastor Dow, he can't kick you out. He can't move you somewhere else and do something like that. He can't. But the fact that he can say it, and he means he does have that ability. He does have that authority, because it's been given to him by you and by those who have come up on the Straightway and pretty much giving themselves to the ministry and giving all to the ministry, having all in common, they say. What we're going to do now is talk about bitterness. All right, we're going to talk about bitterness because bitterness is evident. It's evident that bitterness is taking place here. Let me transition in and bring this up. You see this? Oh man, what in the world did I do? Oh, okay, here we go. We're not gonna go through all these slides. All right, this was the lesson. Bitterness, watch this. Bitterness is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. Unforgiveness chains us to the past, poisons the present, and keeps us from what the Lord has for the future. Unforgiveness chains us to the past. This is why Ringo is going over them same video, going over that stuff over and over and over. Unforgiveness. That's what New Breed's talking about it over and over. This is why Elder Rufus is still, jump anytime he can get on a panel Straightway, he gonna get on that panel Straightway, and he gonna have a little fire and a passion. Why that passion's still there, you got to keep interrupting the brother, and it's because bitterness. I know you don't want to hear it. I love you enough to tell you. Bitterness. Look at this. We ain't gonna deal with the first. We ain't gonna deal. We know sharpness of taste, lack of sweetness. Verse 2. Meaning 2 here. Anger and disappointment at being unfairly treated unfairly. Anger and disappointment. What is bitterness? Anger and disappointment at being treated unfairly. A lot of people won't say they bitter, but you have to, you have to say you bitter. You're mad that you got treated unfairly. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be. I'm just saying you got to check that, because it can defile you. That bitterness can root inside of you and cause major issues. And it can jeopardize your future. It can chain you to the past, where you never let that go and you be inside of this trauma loop. Don't be bitter to your wives. And we want to deal with the Hebrews 12. We'll come back to that. Let me see if we got Ephesians 4:26-32. Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil. A lot of us like to move the furniture around to let the devil inside of our situations, and you do that by anger, or being in situations or having conversations that you know that's gonna make you angry. You knew when you jumped up on that panel with brother Michael Israel that it was gonna be a little smoke. You know it was gonna be a little smoke. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil. And you doing that kind of gave place to the devil. You kind of open the door for the devil. Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands the thing which is good, that he may have to give to him that needeth. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. Don't let corrupt communication come out of your mouth. A lot of y'all saying trying to talk about you can just talk any way you want to talk. No, you got to talk which is good to the edifying. Verse 30, and grieve not the Holy Spirit of God, whereby you are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness, where does the bitterness come from? It comes from unfair treatment. There was a lot of bitterness with these Christians and the Jews, and vice versa on the persecution and how they were persecuting the Christians. There was a lot of bitterness. That's why Paul tells them don't boast against the natural branches. There's bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking, and be put away, and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be ye kind one to another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another. We can do all this stuff about, man, the Christians don't do this. We keep the Sabbath. We do all of this stuff, but man, we got to deal with the major issue. We got to learn how to be kind to one another. Tenderhearted, forgiving one another. We got to learn how to love each other. We got to learn how to love each other, man. We hate each other. Care nothing about no fringes, man. I got more fringes than probably 95%. I'm a fringe factory. Also Naomi. Let's deal with Naomi. Like I said, we just scan it through this and then we'll go back. We'll read this and then we'll go to the Hebrews and then we'll get out of here. Ruth 1:16 through 22. And if you want to see this whole class, I probably go to the live section and type in bitterness and you'll probably find this class here. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee. This is Ruth 1:16 through 22. Or to return from following after thee, for whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest, I will die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. So they two went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them, and said, is this Naomi? And she said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara. Why are you going to call me Mara? Why I want y'all to call me Mara? It says, for the Almighty have dealt very bitterly with me. All right, have dealt very bitterly with me. And really, she's projecting. She's projecting. She's bitter at the Almighty because she's blaming the loss of her husband, the loss of her sons. If you're familiar with the story, I'm assuming that most of us are familiar with the story of Ruth. The loss of her sons and the fact that she's going in without an inheritance. She's going back to the land without an inheritance and without a son to issue her an inheritance. She said the Lord is dealing with me bitterly. But really she's filled with bitterness towards God. She done let the bitterness defile her to the point where she want to change her name. And we see the name Mara here meaning bitterness. All right, meaning bitterness. She says, I went out full, and the Lord have brought me home again empty. Why then call me Naomi, seeing that the Lord have testified against me, and the Almighty have afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, and that's just it. Hey, look, y'all, she a Moabite. All right. For those wanting to say she's something else, she is a Moabite. Y'all want to redefine the Bible all the time, man. Her daughter-in-law, with her, and returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest. But she felt she was treated unfairly. You know, she felt that she was treated unfairly. Job could have thought that he was treated unfairly, but he ate it. He ate it. He didn't put that bitterness toward God. He ate it. He sucked it up. He took it, and he never cursed the Lord. And he never cursed him. He didn't let that bitterness bring him to the point of, you know, where his wife was full of that rage. And, you know, that's Satan ended up using her. Why don't you just curse him and die? You know, but that's what that bitterness would have did to most people. It would have made them curse God and just roll over and die. Look at the root of bitterness. That's what that does. That bitterness gets inside of you, and it's hard to get out. You spreaded them roots. You getting back on them panels trying to, you know, I don't know. You trying to reason with these folks and try to show them that, hey, you know what? They did me wrong. They know they did you wrong. All them people know that they did you wrong. They know that. They could have did you much worse. And them folks they still would have been feeling the same way. But you trying to convince them that they know. And when you do that, you kind of spread those roots. That bitterness, that roots kind of spread. I'm sure you probably had a hard time sleeping last night. You probably had to call all kinds of jokers to talk about, man, what happened on that darn show that night. You know, you probably going back and forth with your ribs about what happened. And that's just that bitterness. You can't let it go. He getting that emotional response out of you. And you see him, he kind of cool and collected. He looking like, yeah, you know. You know, he able to, because he really ain't got no, you know, he don't care either way. It is what it is. He accepted what happened with you. You left, you didn't want to take it. You should have let it play out. And that's his thing. And you don't have to believe him. I don't believe him either. But he's saying, hey, man, maybe if that did happen, maybe if you did go there to Indiana and you did, you know, Joker was out there giving you lashes out there on that Indiana cotton field. And you was out there throwing them blocks down. And, you know, the next time we see Elder Rufus, he in Indiana, you know, done did the whole block wall, did the block foundation by itself. And his tank top half ripped. And he got dirt in his teeth done rotted out, and he got dirt and stuff. You know, maybe, you know, who knows? Whole flock. It could have been an uprising. It could have, you know, the authorities could have been brought. It could have shut the whole thing down. You don't know what could have happened from that. But I understand you not risking it. I do understand that, brother. I absolutely understand that. And again, I couldn't say that I would have did it. I probably wouldn't have done it. Now, you know, on the outside looking in, we had this Hebrews too. We this is probably one of the most, you know, this is the key verse to bitterness. And we'll start at verse 14. Hebrews 12 and 14. It says, follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord. Looking diligently, lest any man fall or fail of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. All right, just a little root of bitterness can spring up in you. Them roots can spread, and they can defile that garment. When your garment is not pure, your garment is not washed with that blood. You done defiled it with that bitterness and unforgiveness. And you won't be set apart. Now, look at the example he's going to use for bitterness. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye know that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. And this is, I know a lot of, especially camp Israelites, will try to use this to talk about the Edomites not receiving repentance, but this is specifically an example used about Esau, used about the man Esau, and how bitterness defiled him to the extent of him throwing away his birthright. And I would say this also, even though there was Esau ended up coming to Edomites and ended up being a great enemy for Israel. He did get judged. He kind of was unfairly treated. He was unfairly treated to a degree. I know y'all said, well, that had to happen. It was prophesied to happen. I get it. Yes, it was prophesied to happen. But Jacob's name means supplanter. It means he's a jug artist. He was designed to be a jug artist. His mama name means something like that also. And Laban means something like that, I think. The uncle. I know Laban means white, but I think it means something else about deception also, something like that. I have to look into it. I had to look back and refresh myself on it. But Esau got jugged, not once but twice. All right, not once but twice. But he sold his birthright for, just a fleshly feeling, just to satisfy the flesh, even though he was hungry. I get it. He's hungry, he's starving, but he just wanted to satisfy that flesh, that moment, to the extent of throwing away his birthright. I'll say this also is that Esau later, when Jacob was to return, Jacob was scared to return through Esau's land. And so he sent, when he had his wives and he was, leaving Laban's house, coming back, he tried to send gifts and herds of animals and stuff ahead to try to soften Esau's heart. And Esau accepted his brother. It felt like, Esau had let it go, and he accepted his brother in, embraced his brother when he came back. And it wasn't the beef that he thought it was going to be. Jacob thought it was going to be when he initially got there. He was scared to death to go back. But it wasn't that smoke that he thought it was going to be. Eventually, it ended up being that later on, but between those brothers, it didn't happen. And just like Naomi, we feel a certain kind of way about something and we toss it away. We don't take reverence to it. We toss it out and realize later how important that was to us. Once we get outside of it, we like, man, you know what? That was very vital to me. Man, I needed that job. You know, you threw that job away for just one little lax, one bad day, one bad argument. You let that one bad argument defile you and have a little bitterness in you. They didn't believe you. I'm going to give you this last example. I was in high school, I was on the wrestling team. And I was about 190 coming off of football, and I wrestled 170. So I had to lose weight. I always had to lose weight, probably more than everybody. But we had to run, I want to say 3 miles. We had to run 3 miles before the practice, and we had to run it in a certain time. So I'm running the 3 miles. They counting the laps or whatever. They done miscounted. You know, they done miscounted. And I done lapped some people, and they done let these folks up. And so I come back. Well, before that, I come around. I'm ready to go up. I'm like, yeah, that's 3 miles for me. I'm going up. Be like, nah, King. You got 2 more laps. Oh, I got 2 more laps. I said, man, I done lapped these folks. And then I see another dude come up. Well, I'm going back and forth with coach. He come up, I said, man, I done lapped him twice. I done lapped him. Why you letting him go up? I done lapped him. But the one he letting go up, he was he placed in the state last year. And he going up a weight class. He so far from oh, he was so far for the weight that he went up. So he had room. He ain't have to be running like that. But me, I didn't see it that way. I just seen it as I was treated unfairly. And I went on ahead and I did the extra lap he asked me to do. And then when I came back to him, he said, you didn't do it in the time. So you got another mile. And I said, nope. I ain't got no another mile. I quit. And I quit the wrestling team. Now that I'm grown and I look back, or later in life when I look back at that, and I never went back. I never wrestled again. I just played football. I went back from that. I look back on that and I'm like, man, you know what? I should have ran the mile. Should have just did it. Because he was really trying to get the weight off of me, and also, trying to get me better, trying to build me. Sometimes you got to tear jokers down to build them back up. Sometimes jokers just walk around with a little too much pride. And I think that could have been also maybe strategically what they were trying to do to Elder Rufus, trying to break him down, because he was so prideful and arrogant. He thought that he can tell the king that he got a demon on him. He thought he could tell the king that he got a spirit on him that he need to cast out. He thought he could say that to the king. And so the king looking like, well, I got to humble you. Maybe I got to humble you, but not in the way that a coach does. This is something with grown men and so forth. But I let that bitterness spring up in me, and made me quit the wrestling team. And I liked it, wrestling. It's just, I let that end up happening. And I kind of, even with that too, man, I would end up going that time there, instead of me training and doing other stuff, I was getting off going, we would start smoking and doing all kinds of little foolishness out here in the streets. That defiled me, that even hindered me later in life. So it'd be little situations like that, man. Sometimes you might have to suffer the unfair treatment. And sometimes, the text says that the Lord, that 1 Peter 2:18-19 that we went over, sometimes the Lord is pleased with that. And when the Lord see that, he'll get you out of it. You ain't got to depend on Pastor Dow getting you out of that situation. The Lord could get you out of that. Oh, he down there treating you crazy. Pastor Dow probably loves to see him treating you that way, but the Lord could see that. That's if we trust him. And it takes a great level of faith, a great level of trust for us to believe he'll get us out of those situations. I'm not saying you don't have that level. I'm not saying that I have that level. Just saying that it takes that level, and that we need to get to that level. If we're not there. Sometimes there's blessings in the, I say that all the time, man. The afflictions are the blessings. The persecutions are the blessings. You know. But I yield with that, man. I pray this thing was edifying. Again, Esau being used as the example of bitterness and selling his birthright, and then coming back and crying, and crying out. And he even said in Genesis, you know, isn't he named correctly? Isn't he surnamed right? You know, being Jacob, being a supplanter, being a jugger, he done tricked me twice. And he might have felt that to be unfair, but we can't let bitterness get us to the point where it got Esau, where it got Naomi, where we're not trusting God, or we're not trusting and throwing away our inheritance. All right, again, with that, I say shalom. Y'all be blessed.